Slurped you down, my G's. Hope you're doing well. There's a weird fruit here, forgotten the name of it, but it's very nice. Anyway, today, as it's sort of coming towards the end of this year, I thought I would think about 7 sort of resolutions for music producers. At least these are 7 things that I think are quite useful and important. Some of these I already do, some of these I want to do more, and maybe you guys will enjoy them as well. So let's get into resolution number 1. Resolution number 1 is make every track a masterpiece. Now, why not make every song that you make like your best song ever, or your best song up to that moment? Sure, you don't know if it actually will be, but you might as well always go into making the song with that mindset. Otherwise, you're kind of just wasting time, because you should be trying to make every song the best song that you've ever made. And there's different ways you can do this, but for me, a lot of it comes down to planning and really taking some time and some space to think about exactly what I want to make, and thinking about how I can make this particular song different. You know, how I can blend in, for example, another influence or another genre. You know, there's loads of different things that you can think about to get really more in depth. But the main thing is that you just get really, go hyper detailed, hyper focused on thinking about exactly what it is you want to do with this particular song, so that you can make it into a larger than life experience in your own head while you're producing it and while you're creating it. And then, you know, in turn, when you actually end up finishing the song, you know, you've invested so much more energy and emotion into it. People are going to feel that from you, and yeah, it's just going to make every song that you go into so much more interesting when it's finally done. So make every song a masterpiece. Really think about what it is you want to achieve with this particular song, and just absolutely smash it. My second resolution is that you should collaborate more, and collaborate in a very empathetic way. So the thing about collaborating is often, for example, if there's more than one producer, it can sometimes get in a situation where, you know, you both want to have your own input. You both think you've got a really great idea. But what I encourage you to do is to collaborate with someone else, be it a producer or a vocalist or any other instrumentalist, and really take a back seat and allow them the opportunity to really feel like they are in control and expressing themselves. And if you are the one who is responsible for creating that environment and letting your collaboration partner really feel admired by their talents, you know, that's going to put them more at ease and let them relax more. And just by doing that, you might end up letting them tap into something deeper and even more interesting than they otherwise would, without your appreciation of what their talents are. So if you can make your collaboration partner really feel super comfortable and super appreciated, then you're the one creating that environment, and you're actually potentially allowing them to channel more of an expressive idea that they may have. So take that back seat and really encourage your collaboration partner. And if you both do this, it might be a problem, because, you know, someone has to at some point take the driver's seat. But yeah, be the one to create that safe environment for your partner to really musically express themselves. And yeah, especially if it's a vocalist. And collaborate more with more people, and focus on collaborating with the people that you naturally vibe with, and where there is a real natural connection, and you can feel that you can do something really great together, as opposed to, you know, trying to reach out and collaborate with people who may be really amazing and great in your eyes, but perhaps there's just not a natural connection there, or they're just leaving you on scene. Anyway, let's move on to the next resolution. Implement time in your schedule to produce creatively. And a lot of us struggle to find the time to produce, But as the Frenchman in The Matrix said, how can you have time if you do not take it? So, with everything in this life, we prioritize what we want to spend time on. And I often hear people say, I want to produce more, but I just don't have the time. But you're still playing Call of Duty. You're still watching Netflix. So it's lower down on your priority list. That's fine. Maybe you don't want to improve your production as much. Maybe you prefer to live vicariously through another platform which does not lead to, actually producing more results yourself and having something that you can be proud of that's yours because you're living in someone else's world. So I encourage you to think about what really is your priority, and knowing that if that priority is strong enough, then you can find the time, and you will take the time because you'll make adjustments to your daily routine so that you can. And another way that this can be helpful, or that helps me, is to think about production not as a chore or a job or a task. Let's say you've got a song you want to finish, or you have a deadline. Try to always take the time to just produce creatively for fun. Like open a new project, like I did sort of on Christmas Day. I think I just spent like an hour or so just for fun. Open a new project, throw in some like salsa loops, some weird wacky like guitar loops, just like easy stuff, throwing stuff together, just like creating a little vibe, just for fun, just for therapy, and just to remind yourself that making music is fun. And we can get bogged down in trying to make every song absolutely perfect and like the next level elements, and really like trying to impress our peers, but remind yourself sometimes to just take an hour out of your day just to produce, literally for the fun of it. Just like go crazy, go wild, get in touch with your feminine side, and just let it flow through you. Just like no real structural plan, just like have a fun like you're playing a video game with production. And don't worry if you don't get anything that you can actually use out of it at the end, but it just helps to remind yourself that producing is supposed to be fun. Resolution number 4 is to consciously allow your work to breathe. And I mean this when you're onto a banger, when you're onto what you think is going to be a song that you're happy with, that you might want to release or put out there for free, or SoundCloud, or whatever it is, the stage that you're at. Consciously take time away from that song when you feel like you've got the right one. A little bit like, I suppose, if you are forming a new relationship with someone, you've met someone special, and just as it's important to spend a lot of quality time with that person, actually taking that time and space away from that person, and really creating space will actually allow that bond to grow even more naturally. And it's the same way when you're onto like a really good tune. You've got to have those few days away from it, not listening to it. It's there in the back of your mind, and you're letting it simmer, and you're taking those days away to make sure that you don't get bored of it, to rest your ears, and then when you come back to it, you'll be like, oh, okay, this is the next direction that we need to go in here. But it's a conscious thing. I'll be out, drinking a coffee or something, and I'll be thinking about it, like, oh yeah, like it's always there in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, oh yeah, maybe 1 or 2 more days, then I'm ready to go back and attack. But make sure that it's because it's the song that you really love at the moment. It's the one that you're working on and that you love, that you think is going to be your best. Make sure you take those few days away always, so that it keeps it fresh until you've really got that 100% finished version. Don't be afraid to take some space away to rest your ears and come back refreshed. My 5th resolution, or tip if you will, is the Mixdown is won in the general's tent. So much like a great strategist going to war, he already knows he's won the battle before it's even commenced, because he's thought everything through. And it's the same way how I think about good composition will equal the Mixdown needs no work. So yeah, it's a process, and we're all learning, and I'm still learning. But even if you like take the time to learn a little bit more about, for example, orchestral arrangements, this may not specifically help you in like electronic music or D&B, but if you think about like an orchestra, there's reasons for why every particular instrument is used, you know, because it fills, for example, a certain frequency range. You have like the piccolo or the flute. It's filling a really high, it's playing a really high octave, filling a high frequency range, and it's allowing itself to cut through a lot of other sounds that are sort of lower down or in the mid-range or in the low end. And, you know, thinking about, for example, a cello player or an upright bass, a cello player playing a really low string instrument, you know, are they playing softly and smoothly, or are they playing really staccato or pizzicato to create, you know, different dynamics and spaces in the overall orchestral piece? So when you start to think about your song in these terms, you can begin to think before you even begin writing. You can envision the instruments that you want to use, and they don't have to be classical instruments. I mean, just the sounds that you want to use, the specific types of drums that you want to use, the specific types of basses that you want to use, and you can envision the whole environment and place the particular sounds or instruments in this world that you're creating in your head. And then you won't have, you know, because things will naturally work with each other if you pick the right combinations of things. So then you won't have to worry about, you know, struggling with the Mixdown because everything is fighting for each other. You know, there's certain rules, like, you know, when you have a main lead instrument, it's the priority in the mid-range, and if you try to have too many lead sounds at one time, they're going to fight in the mid-range and it's going to cause chaos. So always, you know, what's the priority at that particular moment and what's the accompanying section. Okay, so think about how you can really like visualize your track and the elements that you're picking to use for it before you even get to the Mixdown. And if you pick the right things and use them at the right times in the composition together, then you're going to have a lot less work to do when it comes to the Mixdown. You might even just have a little bit of saturation and a little bit of volume adjustment, and then it's good to go. So the Mixdown is 1 in the General's 10. My next tip is to invest in your CPU and your listening setup and artifact lessons. Make sure you book in now. Investing in making sure your computer is powerful enough, and also that you have the right listening equipment, the best headphones you can get, or the best speakers you can get. These two things are, I think, the most important thing that you should, you know, invest money into. And I wish that I invested more money into these things earlier on, because it would have sped up my production learning so much faster, because I spent so many hours with a computer that was not able to handle what I wanted to do and kept crashing. It would take hours and hours of my day just, you know, recovering crashed projects or dealing with technical issues. And also, a lot of the time I was listening on subpar equipment and I was just making the wrong decisions. And if you really think that you have a talent, or you want to just put in the work, actually, from my experience, hard work and dedication beats natural talent every day of the week. So if you think you've got the motivation and the willpower, then I would say don't be afraid to, I don't want to say take out a loan, but don't be afraid to spend all of that extra money that you have on investing in those important things that are going to help you in the long run, and maybe cutting back some spending on other things that are not as fulfilling in the long term. So yeah, definitely don't feel afraid to invest your money into good quality CPU, powerful computer, so that you can actually do what you're trying to do, and make sure you can hear it in the best possible way you can. Don't be afraid to, go that extra step to spending some more, because you won't regret it in the long term. Then my final resolution for you guys is to strip back your workflow down to the basics. And it's a little bit going in the point that I was mentioning before about winning the war in the general's tent. But this more is referring to, using a lot of unnecessary plugins, or thinking that the next plugin is going to save you when you haven't really plotted out or planned out your composition anyway. So those effects, no matter how cool they look, are probably not going to save you. So take things back to the basics. Remember that, a software like Ableton or Logic, I'm skipping all the other ones here. I'm aware of that. I haven't forgotten about you guys. It's been said so many times before, but within that software, what it comes with, you can do everything already without buying anything. And I often recommend a few extra plugins to students, like Voxengo Span. That's just so we can all look at the frequencies on the same meter, so we can compare together. And it's very detailed, and that's free. And then, you have the LFO tool or something else that you can do some nice and easy, quick volume shaping, but you can do that in your software as well. It's just a little bit slower sometimes for me. And apart from that, maybe one good multi-band dynamic shaping plugin, just so you can do those final Mixdown adjustments when there are two elements clashing in the same frequency range and you just want to cut that little bit out. A tool for that is really useful. Leave a comment down below if you know a free one. I personally don't really like the Tokyo Dawn compressor. I just find it really the user interface is just not very friendly. So I use the Waves F6, but leave a comment down below if you know of another good free one that I can recommend to my students, for example. And another thing like a transient shaper, super important, probably my most used tool alongside an EQ, to be honest. EQing and transient shaping gets you a lot of the way without having to use crazy expensive effects on sounds that were the wrong sound in the first place, where the transient was terrible and you hadn't EQ'd it in the right smooth way, or you'd EQ'd it too much perhaps. These crazy effects are not always going to save you. So strip down your workflow back to the basics. It's not glamorous, it's not sexy, but it's the right thing to do. It's those little, going back to the basics and getting those right. You can create an absolute banger just doing that. Whatever someone's trying to sell you on, you probably don't need it. Except for my lessons, you do need those. Anyway, those are my 7 New Year's resolution for you guys. But please leave a comment down below if you think of another one. Leave a comment if it's just a silly joke as well. I'll also enjoy reading that. If you've got a negative comment to leave, you can also leave that, and I'll read probably 2 words, and I'll realise that it's negative, and I'll just block you. So you can do that as well if you want. Or leave a positive comment, that would be nice. But leave a comment down below if you can think of another cool resolution that would help all of us to achieve more of our goals in 2023 as producers, because that's what it's all about. And I hope you guys have a wicked New Year's. Peace out, much love. Don't do anything I wouldn't. And make sure you eat lots of fruit next year. It's very important. Or don't, just eat meat, whatever you want. But make sure you make the time to really chase after the important things that will make you happy in the long run. For me, that's building a body of work that I can look back on when I'm 80 years old in hospital or in a wheelchair and be like, bloody hell, that was a banger. Remember when I wrote that? I was in Colombia. That was mad. Anyway, peace out.